Now, our dear friend, Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, she joins us now because there's a lot to talk about with her. Hello, gorgeous. Now, as always, you are there in the real world talking about real issues. I noticed on your Facebook page just yesterday you were part of a march of people in Tennant Creek, not attended by people on Twitter, real human beings who want to end violence in that community. How many interviews have you done based off that posting in the past 24 hours on the ABC?
0.
Oh. What a surprise. The Sydney Morning Herald didn't send out a special reporter, their Indigenous Affairs reporter, to be there as well?
No, none of the above, unfortunately.
Oh. So tell us about the importance of the rally, because I want people to see it here on Sky News.
So what was important about this was the fact that it was brought together by on a grassroots movement by local community members who were concerned about the levels of violence within, not just within the community of Tennant Creek, but surrounding communities in other places across the territory in Central Australia, and they're done with it. They want to be able to be part of creating solutions for these problems. So it was community members. The community members themselves had designed a survey that went out to just over 400 participants in Tennant Creek and the surrounding communities in the Barkly area. People were very happy to participate in the surveys because they concerned community members. They themselves have been victims, or they know of victims who have been in their families, and they're really concerned about the children. And there was a great deal of men also amongst that lot who were happy to participate and to support. There's a group of men Michael Little, who's a counsellor here in Alice Springs, runs a men's program in Alice Springs. He was there with the men from that program, and they're all about talking about the hard issues, confronting those difficult issues so they can make changes within their families and their communities as well.
And that's it. You want to talk about bravery, the capacity to do it in your own community, right? Regardless of whether that is central Sydney, central Melbourne, or right now in Alice, or obviously in places like Tennant Creek. But God forbid you talk about any of this on Taxpayer TV. Roll the tape.
What do you do about the violence, the appalling violence towards women in the Northern Territory, which has done, no action has been taken about it? Jacinta Price came to Canberra last year with horrific revelations about what was going on in the Northern Territory. No one has opened their mouth to support her, and nothing has been done.
Come on, Alan, violence against women cuts across all colours.
It does, but I'm just saying, we're talking about the violence of the Northern Territory.
Every time it comes up in this discussion...
And if you're managing these things, Ben, what are you doing to address those issues?
Can I just say, too, we're having this conversation in front of an Aboriginal woman who is brought this question to us, and Deirdre, I could hear the distress in your voice even bringing the question.
Yeah,
and I wanted to say, can we just leave that where it sits right now? Deirdre, thank you so much for raising that question.
Oh, Jacinta, what nonsense. Everyone knows exactly what the context was, the entire point of the conversation and the parameters of it. What a way just to put out a fire by not actually even dealing with the real point.
You know what the difference is, and the gap has always exists between remote communities and the so-called civilised parts of this country, the major cities. There are urban Indigenous Australians who don't want to be confronted with the issues that certainly remote Indigenous Australians have to live with every single day of our lives. I mean, I would challenge the ABC, I would challenge Stan Grant to invite a panel of audience members, a panel of people just primarily from the Northern Territory to discuss these issues. I would challenge them to have men like Michael Little who openly talk about these issues a lot, about the reality of what's going on in our communities. And some of the women who were there, who were organising that rally, there's no way that, shutting down that conversation is about ignoring those voices of those women, and it's unacceptable, because it is the women and the children that are the most vulnerable who continue to suffer. And when you shut down those conversations, they're left without a voice, and that's disgraceful. It's 2022 in Australia.
Bloody oath, God, we love you. Thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you, Senator. Have a wonderful weekend. Hopefully the flies go away. I certainly know.
I know.
When a person in the Northern Territory is doing this, there must be a lot of them, because you know how it is to move through it. But when one's getting you, it must have been a big one. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Good on you, darling. All right.